Since 1866, we have gathered in the spirit of love and justice, and in the ringing of the bells are the echoes of our ancestors who faced similar and different days than us. They began their services with bell towers, so we, too, this morning, begin in song. Welcome to First Unitarian Universalist Church of Rochester. We strive to be a congregation of love and justice, rooted in many sources of wisdom and many spiritual paths. Believers in God, mystery, nature, love, queer and trans folks, immigrants and refugees, all of who we are and who we are becoming are held here as sacred. Before, during, or after the service, you can visit the small table altars on either side to light a candle for a joy or sorrow, or write a prayer to be collected after the service. There's a preschool playroom for young ones just past the lobby, and after service, you can join us down in the commons for refreshments and conversation. And there's activities for kids following the time for all ages. All are welcome. Wednesday evenings, join us for supper at 5:30, followed by choir, table conversations, and activities for kids, including childcare. This Wednesday, we'll have a special anti-ICE fundraiser cookies that you can buy for immigrant legal defense, because we believe justice should also be delicious. So you can join us this Wednesday and purchase those justice-priced cookies on Wednesday night. Today, of course, is our annual Martin Luther King service, and tomorrow you can join others from our church and the community at the Downtown March. There's festivities throughout the morning, of course. We'll gather in our yellow gear for the march at 10:30 on the main floor of the Civic Center there. There are signs and scarves down in the lobby if you need either to buy or to borrow this morning. We hope you can join us tomorrow morning. And each week our offering goes out our doors to support justice work in the community. This month is for our Immigration Justice Fund providing various needs to folks right here in the Rochester area community. So thank you for your generosity for this increasingly important work. So I invite you to take a breath as we enter our time of worship this morning with these words from our minister in the 1870s, the Reverend Eliza Tupper Wilkes. May our faith in humanity and our message of hope and good cheer light our way. It's good to be together. Just a moment, the choir will call us back in song. The lyrics are on the inside cover of your order of service, but before that, I invite you to rise in body or spirit and greet those around you.
Tree that's planted by the water.
I invite you to join with us in reading number 584 in the back of your gray hymnal. A network of mutuality. We will read the regular print, and all together we will say the italicized print. A network of mutuality. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
There are some things in our social system to which all of us ought to be maladjusted.
Hatred and bitterness can never cure the disease of fear. Only love can do that. We must evolve for all human conflict a method which rejects revenge, aggression, and retaliation. The foundation of such a method is love.
Before it is too late, we must narrow the gaping chasm between our proclamations of peace and our lowly deeds, which precipitate and perpetuate war.
One day, we must come to see that peace is not merely a destination we seek, but a means by which we arrive at that goal. We must pursue peaceful ends through peaceful means. We shall hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope.
Before I invite the children forward, I want to take a moment to introduce everybody to our 30 Days of Loving Kindness Bingo. Now, this is something that the UUA and the Side with Love campaign has been doing for a few years. I mean, not the bingo part, but they have put out a 30 Days of Loving Kindness that goes from Martin Luther King Jr. Day all the way through Valentine's Day. So you can go to sidewithlove.org, and they have challenges, guidance, meditations, all sorts of things that you can do over the next 30 days that will help get through this time in some way. It will show that support, but it also shows that you can do other things for other people. So I encourage you, this is for all ages, although the prizes may be a little kiddish. But the grand prize, if you get 3 bingos, is a $10 Flapdoodles gift card, which is fun for all ages. So I encourage you to pick up one of these from me today and just turn it in. It's pretty easy. There's some fun stuff on here, and then there's some more serious stuff, which is kind of how we need to balance everything out these days. So without further ado, I would like to invite the children forward because Reverend Luke and Rose have some stuff to teach the kids today.
Come on forward. You can gather up here. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Many of you know and have talked about maybe in school or your homes or here, Martin Luther King Jr., the civil rights movement, and many people who believed and worked for a more just and loving world where everyone was honored for who they were and could find a place in community. And one of the things that's important when you're trying to make the world more loving, when it doesn't feel so loving all the time, is to not be alone and to find ways to express that love for community together, in community, and in song. So one of the ways that they did that during the civil rights movement, and movements and people have joined together over the years, continued to do this for many different reasons, and we're continuing to do it now, especially in our community right now, to make sure that we know immigrants are welcome in this community, and we are so grateful for immigrants and refugees in Rochester and Minnesota and beyond, that we are better because of how diverse our communities are. And one way we do that to gather in community is protests and marches. And so we have some signs and flags here because we want you to know that church is a place where you learn how to protest and march. All right? So we're going to give you a little training session here, and then you're going to march right out of here to activities this morning. So in just a second, Rose is going to teach you a wonderful song, and then we're going to follow Rose. Rose is going to lead you down this aisle, around, and then back up this aisle and right out the door. And if you want, you can very carefully choose a sign or a flag, or you can just sing the song. You don't have to carry anything with you. The thing about being in community is not everybody has to do the same thing. And we all have different things we bring and that we carry to the work of love and justice. So Rose, you can teach us this song.
All right, so this song, if you look on the back of your social justice checklist, you can find the lyrics to it. I'm going to teach it to you. It's really simple. We're just going to repeat it over and over once we learn it. I'm going to sing the first line, or line by line, and you repeat it back to me. So the first line is, Oye, oye, mi gente, traemos la fuerza. That means, listen, my people, together we have strength. Oye, mi gente, traemos la fuerza. Second line goes like this. La libertad es la única bandera. La libertad es la única bandera. And that means freedom is the only flag. Listen, my people, the next phrase, listen, my people, my condor, my eagle. Listen, my people, my condor, my eagle. No human being can ever be illegal. No human being can ever be illegal. Let's put that together. Let's all stand up, fill your lungs with air. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, and go. Oye, mi gente, traemos la fuerza. La libertad es la única bandera. Listen, my people, my condor, my eagle. No human being can ever be illegal. Go ahead and grab it. Mi gente, traemos la fuerza. La libertad es la única bandera. Listen, my people, my condor, my eagle. No human being can ever be illegal. Oye, mi gente, traemos la fuerza. La libertad es la única bandera. Listen, my people, my condor, my eagle. No human being can ever be illegal. Oye, mi gente, traemos la fuerza. La libertad es la única bandera.
Listen, my people, my condor, my eagle. No human being can ever be illegal. Oye, mi gente, traemos la fuerza. La libertad es la única bandera. Listen, my people, my condor, my eagle. No human being can ever be illegal.
I'm going to preface this reflection to let you know that this was not the reflection I planned to give this week, but I was encouraged by other UUs that maybe it's the one I need to give this week. I wasn't even supposed to be there. It was Thursday, January 8th, and Thursdays are typically reserved for my other school building where I serve students kindergarten through 5th grade as a school counselor. On rare occasions, I have switched buildings on Thursdays, normally for an after-school meeting like I had that day, and I had learned from those experiences to avoid the dismissal window by any means. Too many cars with their own objectives and no place to park, it's a nightmare. So when I did have the unique Thursday after-school meeting at my other building, I made sure to wait to transition until the buses have pulled out and most of the family vans and SUVs are out of sight. But I didn't do that on Thursday, January 8th. Instead, I had time to arrive early before the cars even started to line up. So I did. I wasn't supposed to be there. So I could have just hid in my office and worked until the meeting. But I didn't do that either. Instead, I walked up the stairs to position myself next to the front door to say goodbye to my students for the day. And that's where it started. The office manager waved me into the office frantically. She was with our newest employee, a woman around my age who was wiping back tears. She had just gotten off of work 45 minutes ago and witnessed ICE agents kidnap and detain someone in the Crossroads Hy-Vee parking lot. To add to this terrifying story, the office manager told me a concerned parent called in and just reported unmarked SUVs casing one of our neighborhoods. ICE was actively in Rochester, and elementary schools across the city were about to dismiss. I wasn't supposed to be there. What do we do? I was asked. I asked where the principal was. In a meeting. Okay, that's disappointing, but fine. I directed the office manager to call someone at the district building to let them know that we may need fast backup. And then I said, I'll put on my yellow vest, reserved for my morning duty, and I will walk to the bridge that leads to the neighborhood being stalked. My new coworker shook off her fear and decided to come with me. As I hurried back to my office, I passed my students in the halls, packing up to go home. We smiled at each other and gave warm greetings, and my thoughts raced. I am 37 years old. I am white, I am queer, and I am a poet who is answering the call to bear witness, just like Renee Good. Is this how I die? Students started spilling out of the building as my new coworker and I walk across a busy street, across a highway entrance, and onto the bridge. When you cross this bridge overlooking Highway 52, you can take 3 paths. One is a 90-degree angle turn to the left, which leads you down a hill towards Skyline Drive and Walden Lane. The second path goes straight up a hill and curves to the left into more upper middle class and affluent avenues. The third turns to the right and down a hill, leading to an apartment complex and small one-story houses, definitely more run down than the neighborhoods that overlook it. Guess which neighborhood that ICE was casing that day? I told my coworker our objective was to wait until every student gets out of our sight and to hurry them home or shield them in case something happens. We both had our cell phones and waited under an overcast sky. Students passed us, several asking, "What are you doing here?" And my answer evolved into saying, "I just wanted to see your face one more time. See you tomorrow. Be safe." Over and over again. On the bridge, I received several hugs, and I listened to my coworker's story in between the gaps of students passing by. My nervous system regulated as we waited and stood watch. We stayed on that bridge until 2:30, the start of my meeting, but saw the last student and his dad turn down the hill to the right without alarm. I wasn't supposed to be there. But the more I reflect on it, the more I know I was exactly where I needed to be. With gratitude, the ushers will now receive the offering.
Each time we gather, we take time to honor the joys and sorrows of our lives, all the good, bad, messy things of life that are better held together. We do this because we believe each person here matters and that community helps us hold the beauty and brokenness of this world. We send gratitude to Ann Lean and Elizabeth Plumhoff, serving as our caring coordinators, arranging care for members and friends in need for the last 2 weeks. Jean Hansen will take over for the next 2, and we thank them all. The members of our caring committee are wonderful examples of our compassionate community, holding us up as we go through challenging and happy times. And as we all know, life can be challenging. We could all use some extra support with what life throws at us. And if you are experiencing challenges in your life, we encourage you to reach out for help and support. If you need additional care or personal pastoral care, please reach out to Reverend Luke with that request. We lift up those who are experiencing sadness, illness, or loneliness. May the strength and love in our congregation help guide you. We revel in those who are experiencing joys in their lives. May their happiness lift us all, and may their joy filter into all around them. This morning, we hold Alexandra McKenzie Roberts in our circle of care as she prepares for surgery on February 9th. May she feel surrounded by calm, courage, and compassion. As she heals, cards, kind words, and well wishes are welcome, and a meal train has been lovingly arranged to help support her and her family during this time of recovery. We also continue to hold the family and loved ones of Ronice Donovan in our hearts. With gratitude for a beautiful life lived and shared, we honor her memory. A celebration of life will be held here at First UU this next Saturday, January 24 at 1 p.m., where all are welcome to gather in remembrance and love. Cards of support and well wishes are welcome. The list that is compiled weekly contains several members and friends of the church who are experiencing sadness or celebration and is posted in the entryway of the church as well as through the link in your e-news. We provide cards and postage and welcome you to leave the cards near the basket downstairs for mailing. Here, our service to each other and to the wider world is our focus. May the faith in the spirit of life, love for the community of earth, and love for the light in each other be ours now and in all the days to come.
Protest signs. I invite you to take a deep breath. Breathe deep the breath of life. Feel below you the earth and its ancient turning. Above you the sky, and beyond that the stars shining with their ancient light, holding you in this moment, this breath, you yourself made of earth and stars. I invite you into this time of meditation, this time of prayer, first by sharing silence together. Spirit of life and love, God and Gaia of 1,000 names and beyond all naming. Even on days like today, when all the air around us seems biting and bitter, still the sky itself refuses to hold back its beauty, blanketing the morning with hues of magenta and haint blue. Even on weeks like this, seasons like this, the people too seem to refuse to hold back their beauty, to resist the loud stories of force and anger with more ancient and more true stories of solidarity, of mutual aid, of resistance mingled with joy. Help us be whatever shade of beauty we can be, to add to the horizons of hope, to be to each other reminders of beauty, of love, of generosity, of kindness, of justice, of peace. Hold in our hearts this day those who suffer in mind, body, or spirit. I invite you to bring the names and places you're holding in your own heart this day in joy or sorrow, and silently or aloud now in this time to speak their names. For the names spoken and unspoken, for the people unnamed, for the people fearful, for our communities of solidarity, may we be held in love. These words of meditation are from Eileen Casanetto. There are no kings in America. We're not that kind of country. We are sanctuary for the hungry, the homeless, the huddled, held together by an idea our immigrant parents believed in. Rendered, it meant independence. Pursued, it kindled war, ordnance, a fighting chance. 40,000 musket balls by themselves did not shape the borders by which we map our lives. To draw borders, we needed more than just fire cakes. We needed the faith and grit of people who were not yet Americans. To be an American is to recognize the sacrifice of the widow and the orphan, is to understand the weft of tent cities expecting caravans and the heft of a child in a camp not meant for children, or sitting before a judge awaiting judgment. What do we say to the native whose lands we now inhabit? What do we say to our immigrant parents who held certain truths to be self-evident? Do we now, still, pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, our sacred honor? There are no kings in America, only gilded men that we can topple again and again and again. May that be so. Amen. Shortly before being assassinated and regularly at mass gatherings to ready souls for marching and action, Reverend Dr. King requested one of his favorite hymns, Precious Lord, often by his favorite singer, Mahalia Jackson, a song honoring the weariness of the soul and the need to clasp the hands of a hope, a spirit, a God, of ancestors, of each other, all that we hold as sacred and precious and name as divine, so that we do not go alone. I invite you to rise in body or spirit as we sing. We'll sing the first page refrain and then right into verse 1 and 2 listed on the next page. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. When my way grows drear, precious Lord, linger near. When my life is almost gone, hear my cry, hear my call, hold my hand lest I fall. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. When the darkness appears and the night draws near and the days pass gone, at the river I stand, guide my feet, hold my hand, take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home.
The reading is If You Could Go Back by Danny Brick. I know, if you could go back, you would walk with Jesus. You would march with King, maybe assassinate Hitler, at least hide Jews in your basement. It would all be clear to you. But people then, just like you, were baffled, had bills to pay and children they didn't understand, and they too were so desperate for normalcy. They made anything normal, even turning everything inside out, even killing, and it's easy for turning the other cheek to be looking the other way, for walking to be talking. And they hid in their houses and watched it on television when they had television, and wrung their hands or didn't. And your hands are just like theirs. Lined, permeable, small. And you would follow Caesar and quote McCarthy and Hoover, and you would want to make Germany great again. Because you are afraid, and your parents are sick, and your job pays shit, and where's your dignity? Just a little dignity. And those kids sitting down in the highway and chaining themselves to buildings, what's their fucking problem? And that kid, that's King. And this is Selma, and Berlin, and Jerusalem. And now is the time that you need to be brave. Now is when we need you to go back and forget everything you know and give up the things that you're chained to and make it look so easy in your grandkids' history books. They should still have them, Kinahora. Now is when it will all be clear to them.
Some of the time you don't really notice it. It seems a seamless, held-together sound, but the choristers know otherwise. As someone shared not long ago in a meeting here, the work of justice and the Spirit can be like communal choir singing. Sometimes you breathe together, but to sustain the song often there are covert, quiet breaths, taken at intervals, staggered breathing, so that the song continues collectively, even as individuals take their breath and find their voice. A certain child of mine was home most of this week, having done what all the cool kids are doing these days by getting the flu. So because we joke our house tries to uphold some of the home practices of the 1800s, she spent a good amount of time on books and crochet kits. I don't really know much about it, but I know enough about fabric that for things to hold, they need to have a good weave or thread or some way of joining together in different ways with care and intention for the fabric to hold. And I am certain I will be instructed on the many variances after the service between crochet and weaving and all these things. But it reminded me of this prayer shawl that is always in my office. It was a gift to me from a dear mentor and friend years ago who taught me much about church and community and justice. It's a symbol for me of the importance of connection, warmth, and comfort, and sometimes the amount of time it takes to create something that can hold you, especially in times of struggle. And the rhythms and the fabric of justice and liberation are like that, up and down, sometimes boiling over, sometimes simmering, adding whatever we can to the work, whatever breath we can find, until we all are free. This garment of destiny, the highs and lows, times of intensity, times of calm, times for us to show up and push hard quickly, and times to take a breath and to pause so that we can stay in the work long term. The garment of destiny is not a finished product. It is always a work in progress, torn or rent sometimes by the news of the day, frayed, tangled, or ripped to shreds. And yet, when we care for each other and ourselves well, we keep doing the long haul work of mending, of healing, of love. For the soul to be well cared for, it needs rest, water, and also art, beauty, community, things that bring joy and refuse to let the reserves of our humanity, our love of life, be depleted. One of the learnings from the civil rights movement, among many, was its grounding in community, soul care practices, art, and joy that we talked a little bit about last week. And you may well know the story that the night he was assassinated, Dr. King gave both one of the most powerful speeches of his work and ministry, I would say sermons, though it was a rally. And that evening, he also had a playful pillow fight with his dear friends in the hotel. Andrew Young recalled that Reverend Dr. King was joking. They were joking about a federal court case, because that was what they had to do to move through the time. And then he threw a pillow, and he said, and everyone else just picked up a pillow too and joined in, and we were like a bunch of 12-year-olds, this room of 30 and 40-year-old men who were doing hard work, were silly and playful more than in years. It's a powerful reminder that in the midst of gravely serious work, to not neglect one's humanity, moments of levity, even in the midst of it, to hydrate, rest, eat good food, spend quality time with loved ones, and then don't stop there. Then do the good work you are called to do, especially in times when the events of the day come crashing in and you find yourself perhaps just where you need to be, even if you weren't planning to be there. There's an important balance to find between the long term and the short term. Like the old adage, it's necessary to ask why hunger exists. That's justice. But sometimes your neighbor needs bread right now. It's what Dr. King called the fierce urgency of now. And I've been thinking of that sense of time in recent days, what sometimes in justice work is called deep time. It's why I love the hymn Austin played on the organ a bit ago, Deep River. That beautiful spiritual that in biblical language refers to the imagery of the Jordan River, stories of liberation from exile, crossing over to promised land. And in American spirituals history, it's a literal reference to the Ohio River, the river that separated free and slave states, north and south, leading up to the Civil War. To sing that song was to sing about crossing over into promised land out of slavery. It was not an afterlife imagery, it was a this life imagery. To cross the Ohio into campground where the dogs couldn't track you through the water to get north to literal freedom. Deep River, my home is over Jordan. I want to cross over into campground. Cross over to communities of care and nourishment and freedom. And I'm thinking about what rivers, what streets separate us from such liberation. This work takes this type of imagery, the work of subversion that draws on stories of history that run deep like roots over and under the ground to bring us something hopeful, some wisdom that is both from then and it's now. The worst we can do is hold Martin Luther King Jr. holiday as a piece of history and not an action for now. No matter what path or road you find yourself out on or going out on, what are you called to do? And then, in this sense of deep time, how can it be traced back, threaded back to moments or movements or learnings or changes back further and further than you even know? Sometimes the stories of how we've come to now, we can hardly trace. I was struck this week seeing many of my colleagues in the Twin Cities. It was so much of the solidarity that I saw spring up were from coalitions that go back years and generations. They didn't pop up just last week in South Minneapolis. These communities working together, they have ties going back much further. Just in a press image last week, I saw clergy that I marched with during the Black Lives Matter movement in 2015, or before that, for the work for marriage equality in 2013. And those groups had clergy who knew each other already for years on minimum wage advocacy, paid leave and immigration reform, to solar gardens, the work to rebuild decimated neighborhoods in Rondo and other places in St. Paul. There are relationships that come to fruition in moments because they are tied to interconnected webs that stretch way before them. Relationship is what brings us to now, whether we name it or know it or not. And you find that your history and your future are tied in this moment. The work of liberation is filled with ups and downs, waves of highs and lows, and are held together by garments always in need of tending. And sometimes that work takes courage to know and to name our histories that we uncover, to name honestly the legacies that live in our midst, so that we might learn and grow and imagine new ways. So I'm grateful for this reflection from our youth group that Jameis is going to come up and read.
The high school youth wrote the following acknowledgement. It is now posted at the entrance to the Murray Room. We have named the youth room at the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Rochester the Judith and John Murray Room. Each Sunday, the youth meet to discuss the nature of our religion in a room that honors them. We acknowledge that the Judith benefited and actively participated in the institution of slavery. She was raised in the Sargent home where human beings were enslaved. During the first marriage of John Stevens, she became the active owner of two unnamed enslaved men. Among the known names of those enslaved by the Sargent Stevens families are Abraham, Cobbina, Dill, Flora, London, Pompey, Spencer, Titus, and Will. Our religion has taught us that all people are worthy of respect and dignity, and any form of racial injustice should be condemned. And so we condemn Judith's racism and participation in slavery proliferation. We further commit to undoing racism, promoting the well-being of all, and refusing to ignore or look away when human rights are violated in our time or in our past.
Thank you, Jameis. The phrase "in our time and in our past," our high school youth, right? Resisting, refusing to ignore the truths from whence we came. Sometimes such acknowledgments are quickly dismissed. We give a pass. That's how it was in that day, neglecting the fact that that's not how it was for everybody. The quick dismissals are also rooted in a type of individualism, that we are somehow not responsible for anything that has happened in the past, the actions, the ancestors, that we are only answerable and accountable to just me. Interdependence, the truth of it, from science and spirituality, means we are all caught or held in a fabric much larger than any one of us. And telling our fuller stories is essential to knowing who we are, that we are responsible for these histories, that we were not the ones maybe making certain decisions, but we are responsible for learning from them, in the work of healing from them, to keep in the work of creating a future that is more liberating and just. It's important to remember there is more than one story. Sometimes the stories we know or that we tell are the dominant stories of oppression, and there are other stories in every age of struggle. Stories of mutual aid and liberation that often get squashed by the media or get squashed by those who end up in power. There are stories of communal care and art, sharing of food and resources and rides and books and soups and shawls and more. Don't neglect to tell and live and be those stories of liberation that undercut the violence, hard stories of oppression. We are writing part of the story now, weaving the work and words of those before us. Now is when you need to be brave, writes the poet. Now is when you need to go back, forget everything you know, and give up the things you're chained to and make it look so easy in your grandkids' history books. Now is when it will all be clear to them. Friends, the garment is always torn, and there are 1,000 ways to mend it. But grab a thread. They are all connected. Which one is yours? And so even as we celebrate the legacy and the work of Reverend Dr. King, we are celebrating a far wider web than just him. And especially I was reading and remembering this week Ella Baker, who always talked about Dr. King in the shared work for liberation. He can be a little self-centered and a little too cautious, she said. And so in that work, we widen the story for the web that we are all called to. Each year we sing Lift Every Voice and Sing, considered the Black National Anthem, and we sing it for the history of struggle in our country for greater freedom and for our call to be part of that shared liberation. We sing it in humble and reverent solidarity to communities and traditions of color, communities and traditions of diversity within and beyond our own tradition, because our liberation is bound together. I invite you in reverence and gratitude to rise in body or spirit as we sing.
Lift every voice.
come to the place for which our fathers died. We have come, all of the way that was and watered. We have come, treading the path in the blood of the slaughtered. Out of the gloomy past, where we stand at last, where the bright gleam of the star is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou whose by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places of commonly met thee, lest our hearts drunk with the wine of the world and forget thee. Shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land. I invite you, as you're comfortable, place a hand on your heart or toward the sky or earth in gratitude. And when the days and the souls are weary, to hear again this word of not going alone. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tired, I'm weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home.